Hello everybody and welcome back to Fortress of Solitude, and today we're going to be taking a look at Superboy, The Man of Tomorrow issue 2 by writer Kenny Porter and artist Janoy Lindsay. Connor Kent's adventures in space continue as he gets into an explosive first meeting with the Cosmoteers, a group of young hip aliens who have mistaken Superboy for one of Dominator X's freak of nature clone super soldiers, and because of that they must wipe him from the face of the universe. Kenny Porter dives a little more into how Connor handles super situations where he needs to be a superhero. Having done a great job in that first issue setting up his brash nature and how he's different from Clark and Kara and John and all of the other Superman family. And here we see him sort of cycle through how to handle a new threat, trying it his usual way and even what he calls the quote-unquote Clark way before figuring out that no, he's trying to be his own person, so he needs to do it his way, which, as he puts it, is the cooler way. Porter does comedy really well too, and it's sprinkled really nicely throughout the issue, especially with Connor saving the day and being all triumphant, only to have the Cosmoteers tase him and take all of the glory, which got a pretty good laugh out of me, a laugh out loud laugh, which very rarely happens in comics. The Cosmoteers themselves are sort of the big draw of this issue, is really focused on them as we learn a little bit more about them, and right off the bat you can kind of tell that they are all mirroring Connor's own attitudes and characteristics, even down to the leather jackets they all wear, very similar to his. Their origin as well is very similar to how Connor came about, with him being a clone of Superman and Lex Luthor and made in a lab in secret. They too were made in a lab as test subjects for the Dominator, and they were cobbled together from things like Daxamites and all these different races who have different superpowers, and even their own origins sort of mirror both Superboy and Superman's, with them obviously growing in the lab, and then obviously Superman's with them escaping from Dominator X, but instead of just floating through space after the planet was destroyed, they are actively pursued into the galaxy by Dominator X's people. This also leads to them being a bit more harder edged than you would assume. They are very kill happy and just want to deal with threats by just killing them, and it really leads Kenny to get the opportunity to explore Connor as the more mature one in the group. He's gone through this himself. When he first appeared in the 90s, he went through a phase like this, and he's been through it many times through many different writers. So Porter kind of flips it on its edge and makes Connor the Superman sort of stand-in, and sort of the one who's a bit more level-headed and can teach these younger heroes how to be a hero. And this also really hits home the mission statement of the book, which is to find Connor a place in the universe, and one that's not just a retread of Clark or anyone else's in the Superman family. It's a fantastic way to see him get to put in a proper leadership position and apply the teachings he's learned from Superman, from Tim Drake, from Young Justice, and various other heroes he's worked with over the years, teaching the Cosmoteers that there is another way. This also brings up a pretty natural rivalry between Connor and the leader of the Cosmoteers, Rotu Zar, who doesn't want to learn from Superboy and would rather just kill his way through the Dominator's super soldiers just to get his revenge. Porter also remembers again that Connor has a form of tactile telekinesis and uses it in some really fun ways, notably at the end where Connor is used as a sort of battering ram when the Cosmoteer ship loses its weapons, which is a really quite cool application of the power, and much better than, you know, just making things levitate or moving things around with his mind. It's a bit more interesting visually. And speaking of the visuals, Janoy Lindsay's artwork really shines through these action sequences, and much like the first issue, the action has a great anime and manga influence all over it, with fantastic use of speed and the force of the hits that the characters are feeling. And I really like the dynamic collection of powers on show here. It's not just, you know, laser beams shooting from the eyes. We get cool stuff like arms turning into cannons thanks to technomancy, and one of the characters is able to grow in size much like Ant-Man and Giant Man, and just a really great anime and manga inspired stuff. And hell, even some of the buildings on the planet in the background look almost identical to the rounded buildings of Namek from Dragon Ball Z. Lindsay's designs for all of the super soldier monsters as well were great too, and blended weird alien body horror stuff with, interestingly enough, a lot of kaiju influences, thanks to two of the main villains being one a giant worm and the other a giant lizard monster that really, maybe it's just because Tears of the Kingdom is currently out now, but kind of reminded me a little bit of Ganondorf thanks to the long red mane of hair he has and just a big jacked lizard. Superboy, the Man of Tomorrow issue 2 continued to prove that this was a top tier choice as winner of DC's 2022 Round Robin event. Porter and Lindsay continue Connor Kent's growth and journey to find his own path in life with some great anime and manga inspirations and great and refreshing use of some classic DC Comics cosmic villains in that of the Dominators. I'm going to wholeheartedly give this issue a 9 out of 10, so definitely check it out.